Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In today's video, we are going to talk about the importance of having manners when it comes to being a student of the Arabic language. Yes, that's right. We're going to talk about manners. We're going to talk about the different types and why it's important for a person to have them in order to become successful as a student of the Arabic language. But before I get into that, just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Sa'ad ibn Mansour, and I'm a student of the Arabic language for over a decade now. And I've been on a path and a journey to teach people the Arabic language so that they can reconnect themselves to Islamic knowledge. For a very long time, Muslims have become disconnected from Islamic knowledge, and the reason for that is because the key that unlocks it and the bridge that gets them to that Islamic knowledge in the first place has become disconnected from them, and that is the Arabic language. And so my aim is to teach the Muslims the Arabic language from zero to mastery so that they can finally access Islamic knowledge again. So now let's talk a bit about the issue of mannerisms as a student of the Arabic language. Now, there are two types of mannerisms that a person needs to have if you want to excel in your learning and your studies of the Arabic language. The first one is mannerisms in the way that you carry yourself and the way you deal with other people. And what I mean by that is if you are a student of the language, you will involve yourself or you will encounter different types of people. You will encounter teachers. You will encounter your fellow peers that are also students. You will encounter people that you might educate, and you will also encounter general people as well. Now, the way you carry yourself and the way you deal with yourself is going to affect the way that you learn and the way that knowledge will come to you of the Arabic language. For example, imagine you have a teacher and you deal with your teacher in a very bad manner. You don't have the best of manners. You come to his class late, you talk back, you don't do the homework, you don't do this. You do all of the things that are considered to be disrespectful of a student. In return, when a teacher sees that, a teacher may reject you and might feel like, I don't want to teach you any longer because I don't see from you the correct manners as a student should have. And so what would happen as a result of that is that you'll be disconnected from that class, you'll be disconnected from that knowledge. Imagine if you had peers. Now your peers are there to help you. They're there to motivate you, for you to revise, for you to keep yourself going. But imagine if you have bad mannerisms with them as well in the way that you deal with them. You might come across a bit arrogant. You might come across as if you don't need them. You might always be, to the side and say, look, I don't need anyone's help. All of these things are going to be things that will prevent you from progressing in your path and really developing the way that you should, because students are there together as a group so that you can benefit from one another. But if you're going to be in a particular manner where nobody wants to benefit from you and you're unable to benefit them, then you're not really going to progress the way that you should. Now, these are just examples to show to you that you not having the correct mannerisms is going to prevent you, right, in your classes, in your learning, in your education. But the issue actually goes a bit more deeper than that, because look, when you're learning the Arabic language and you're learning it for the correct reasons, which is learning it so that you can understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to understand the Quran, you want to understand the Sunnah, you want to understand the Sharia altogether, then essentially when you're studying and you're taking this path, you're doing it so that you can reach a better goal, a huger goal, a greater goal, which is the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so now, if you are taking this path of learning the Arabic language, but you are not coming in the correct manner, in a manner which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah Ta'ala may close the door for you to understand His knowledge because of the fact that perhaps you may be disobedient to Him, you're committing sins on a regular basis, you don't have the right intentions, you're insincere for your reasons for doing this, you're not doing it because you want to understand the deen of Allah, but you're doing it so you can debate people or argue with people or show that you're better than people, whatever it may be. But because of the fact that your mannerisms and the way that you're carrying yourself are not correct, Allah Ta'ala may prohibit you from attaining the knowledge of the Arabic language, which would ultimately allow you to understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Based upon the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid din." That anybody that Allah ta'ala wants good for, He gives them an understanding of the religion. And so if Allah wants good for you, He gives you an understanding of the religion. But the opposite is also true, as Al-Imam Ibn Hajar, Al-Imam Ibn Qayyim also pointed out as well, which is if a person is not seeking knowledge or they don't have an understanding of the deen, it means that Allah didn't want good for you. Now, why would Allah not want good for you? For a very simple reason. You are probably disobeying Him. You're probably disobedient. And so, even in the way that you deal with the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way that you carry yourself as a Muslim can affect the way that you acquire the knowledge of the Arabic language. And so it's very important that a person learns how they should be as a student in terms of the way they carry themselves, how you should be with your teachers, how you should be with your fellow peers, how you should be when it comes to the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because now you're different. Now because you're studying the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are further requirements from you because you're not a person that's jahil, you're not a person that's ignorant, you're a person that's going towards knowledge, that's aiming towards ilm. And so there is more that's required from you as a student now because you're learning the Arabic language in order to excel further and learn the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in regards to the way that you carry yourself with yourself, how you deal with yourself. Do you oppress yourself by committing sins that's going to prevent you from this knowledge? If you do, then this is bad manners. But are you a person that's praying more, worshipping more, doing more good deeds, acting more in the path of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Those are good things. Those are good mannerisms that are going to aid you in understanding the Arabic language, ultimately to understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's one type of mannerisms that I personally used to have. Books have been written on this. There are so many books that have been written that basically talk about this. For example, the book, Jami'u li Akhlaq al-Rawi wa Adab al-Sami', Hilyatu Talib al-Ilm, the Adab al-Daris wal-Mudarris. The books are so many. The books are so many that a person can benefit in order to learn these type of mannerisms. There's now another type of mannerism that you need to have. And you may not call it mannerism, but I'm putting it under the heading of mannerisms, which is learning and understanding and knowing how to study. What do I mean by that? What I mean is the way you have mannerisms with people is one thing, your teachers, your students, your peers, the people that you meet, how you carry yourself is one thing. But now there's mannerisms of how you should study. A lot of us are not taught what is the most optimum way for me to study, to learn and educate myself. The schooling system that we go through does not teach you that. It teaches you one method, one way, one process, one system, and that is not necessarily befitting for everybody. Everyone learns differently. Some people, when they memorize, they have to hear something being repeated lots of times. Some people, they have to read it multiple times. Some people have to write it out multiple times. The way that you study and you learn and you acquire knowledge is different person to person. And so a person needs to learn actually, how do I learn? What's the best way for me to learn? What's the way in which I learn best? What's the way in which I study best? So that you can actually make sure that you acquire the knowledge that you're seeking. Because you might have all these mannerisms with your teacher, you're respectful with your peers and etc. But you don't even know how to study. You go home, you open your book, and like, so am I supposed to read this out, or do I type it up on the laptop, or do I write it out on an iPad, or do I draw diagrams, or do I write sentences? Do I make flashcards? Do I repeat myself? Do I record an audio and listen to it, in my ears? What do I do? A lot of people are stuck in this process, and you need to figure that out. You need to be able to figure that out so that you can be optimum in your studies. This is where a lot of people, they fail because you don't know how to study. You end up not completing the programs and really succeeding in that which you're trying to acquire. In this example, the Arabic language. And what comes with that is, for example, issues of consistency, issues of discipline. Now, for example, you know that you have to do X amount of memorization of words from the Arabic language on a weekly basis. You're now disciplined upon that. You make sure you're consistent upon it. You do it for a long amount of time. You are a person that manages your time. Managing your time is all about, knowing how to study. If you don't manage your time properly, then you're not going to benefit from learning in your studies. Because if a person knows that, okay, in a day, I only have 1 hour left to memorize and study my Arabic studies, and you spend half of that doing things that are not beneficial for you when it comes to learning, then you've ultimately wasted your time. And then there's people that just don't even stick to their timetables. They don't even stick to their schedules. Sometimes they overwhelm themselves by making the schedule too difficult. All of these are problems that if a person was to fix, oh, subhanAllah, the way that you will learn and acquire knowledge will be completely different. And so a person has to focus on these two things. These two things, you rectify them, these two types of mannerisms, you're on a path to success. And these are the things that you find in the stories of the Salaf. These are the things that you find how the Sahabas they used to be, the Salaf they used to be, the scholars of the past how they used to be. They are very, very diligent when it comes to their time, their discipline, their consistency, knowing how they study, how they learn, how they acquire knowledge, and also in the way that they deal with people, how they deal with the teachers, with their peers, with Allah Ta'ala, with themselves, with the people in general. All of that is intact. And so, a person must learn this and implement this, inshallah ta'ala, in order to really rectify themselves so they can acquire the knowledge of the Arabic language. If you want to learn more things about this, you want to learn a bit more about how you should be as a person, as a student of knowledge of the Arabic language, and how you should basically better, study, what is the best way, for you to study and be optimum in your learning, in your education, in your time management, in your consistency, in your discipline, then inshallah ta'ala, this is one of the things that we teach in the Arabic Code Academy, which is our online institute where we teach people the Arabic language from zero to mastery with the intention of connecting you to Islamic knowledge. The aim is not for you to just be able to speak. We don't really care too much about you being able to speak, but if you can speak, it's going to aid in you understanding the knowledge of this deen, then inshallah ta'ala is something that you'll benefit from. If you want to understand the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you want to unlock Islamic literature that's in the Arabic language, you want to be able to communicate with mashayikh, listen to lectures in Arabic, you want to be able to tap into that world which we've been disconnected from for so long, then inshallah ta'ala that is what we aim to teach you so you can acquire the skills and be able to do that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So if you want to be part of the academy, you can click the link below inshallah ta'ala and sign up and see if it's good for you. One of the things that we're teaching currently is this famous book which is called Adab al-Daris wal Mudarris, which is the mannerisms of the student and the teacher, which is a book that was basically compiled by Muhammad Jamaluddin al-Qasimi, who basically took these benefits from a book written by Al-Imam al-Nawawi, which is Al-Majmu', which is a book on Shafi'i fiqh. And from that, he took some of the benefits that Imam al-Nawawi mentioned about seeking knowledge and learning and mannerisms and etc. And he compiled it into a book for people to study on its own and learning how to carry themselves as a teacher and also as a student. And I like to benefit from both of these because one day, once you learn, you automatically will also become a teacher. So you need to know how to carry yourself and how to have good manners as a teacher as well. So inshallah ta'ala, if you want to be able to study, a book like this with this, inshallah ta'ala, with us, join the academy. We also will be going through issues on time management and memorization masterclasses so that you learn the best way to memorize things so you can really excel in your journey. We just want you to be able to go from zero to mastery in the most optimum fashion, in the most efficient fashion for yourself, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah bless you all. Jazakumullahu khairan, and I'll see you in the next video. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.